We will now observe a 30-second moment of silence. Thank you. Moving to A3, adoption of the agenda. Are there any consent agenda items that a board member would like to have discussed as an action item? Hearing none, do I have a motion that the governing board adopt the meeting agenda?
I move that we adopt the meeting agenda.
Can you hear him?
It's green over here.
One second. Can you hear Mr. Solorio? Yeah?
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Solorio. Is there a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Mr. Narvaez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving to B, presentation. B1, textbook adoption update.
Good evening, President Conchas, members of the board, Dr. Mayas, Alhambra community. I wanted to give you an update on our mathematics adoption. We're entering the second round and some details that follow. So our process started last fall with a notice to vendors and publishers about our desire to engage in the adoption process for a mathematics program. We had several vendors who submitted products for our review, and we had a round one committee that took all of the publisher-provided materials and screened them first based on the minimum requirements that we set forth in the proposal, and then utilized a rubric to narrow that down. This is a little bit different of a process than we've engaged in the past because we know that time is of the essence, and we wanted to make sure that our teachers and our staff and our community had enough time to review diligently and be able to go through it deeply. So that narrowed our list down, and we've now moved into round two, which will commence here. There will be publisher presentations of the finalists that have moved from round one to the second round. Opportunity for those on the committee to do some piloting of lessons of the materials in their classrooms with students to test them out. Also the opportunity for staff to provide input on the materials to the committee. Something that we've done differently in the last round is we actually put the materials on campuses, so staff didn't have to travel here to district office, and that's something that we're going to do again. Unique to this second round is we are opening up for public comment and review, and so we have the materials located in this building just down the hall for our public to be able to review all of the teachers' editions, the student editions that we would potentially purchase if we move forward with the adoption of those materials. There's comment forms that people can fill out where they give their thoughts, their feedback, and then those are collected by the committee throughout the public window to review as they're engaging in their own review process. Ultimately, the goal of the second round committee is to provide a recommendation to our superintendent, who then takes it to the governing board for your adoption. We just have this timeline, so we see that the materials are available for public review starting September 11th, this past Monday, up until December 1st. Again, we have the materials available, the teachers' editions, the student editions for our public. If our teachers wanted to come to district office and look at the teachers' editions, they can, but those student materials will be on every campus, so they don't have to travel. Again, that review process with the goal of providing a recommendation to Dr. Mayas to take to you for the December 14th governing board meeting for adoption. We're also taking advantage of this round one, round two timing to be able to order the materials with the goal before we leave for winter break, so that we can start receiving those materials in the springtime and make them available to our staff to feel even more prepared as we begin next school year when we would actually implement the newly adopted materials. So the opportunity to have those in front of me at my disposal, so if I wanted to look at them during the summertime, engage in some optional prep and planning, I can feel more prepared for the upcoming school year. Again, something a little bit different as we engage in continuous improvement based on feedback that we've had with previous adoptions. Again, we will implement our new program in next school year of August. So again, the materials that are available for review here at district office are in the Madrid room. So with that, that concludes this portion of the evening's agenda. If you have any further questions, I'm happy to take them. Questions?
I do. So you mentioned it, just to clarify, test.
Test.
All right. You mentioned, just to clarify, we have samples of the books now on campuses as well. Is that correct?
So the books on campus are only available for our staff.
Okay.
We do have the books available here at district office in the Madrid room for our community to be able to review.
Okay. So for community review, they need to come here
To
and
district
get
office.
review. Okay. Very good. Very good. I do like the longer time frame line. I think that's appropriate, and I'll just encourage all of our parents and teachers to participate and give as much insight as possible. September 11th through December 1st.
Correct.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yes, real quick. Hello. Well, thank you for sharing that information. I appreciate that. One of the questions I have is, what are we tracking input, or are we tracking those who review it? And then also, do we have any guidance on how our staff can review it? Not necessarily what, but like, what are the good ways for them to, what to look for and how to pick out the good things?
Absolutely. So that's something that the committee spends a great deal of time going over. What tools do we use and learning the tools that we have. It's something that we can support our staff members with, because I don't know about you, but many teachers, myself included, it's new, it's exciting, I'm looking through it. And then we've had experiences in the past where we've had things that once we've gone to actually teach it, it's lost a little bit of its luster. So the opportunity to dive in depth and then have those pilot lessons, along with supporting our teachers with, here are some things to really scrutinize.
If I can add also, the composition of this Phase 2 committee is going to include a representative from every campus, so that it's not just a group of folks who have been elected and didn't necessarily represent all those different places. So I think that this renewed composition is actually going to make a big difference in ensuring that there's a perspective from every campus.
And just to add to that, something unique that also that we're doing for this round is that it's release time during the contract day. And so those staff members who are participating in this, it's not a after-school commitment. It's an opportunity to have a substitute provided during our committee meeting so that they can all meet together cohesive as a team.
What types of communications do we have for our parents and our community members about this opportunity to review?
So currently it's listed on our district website. We can take advantage of Parent Square to send out some communication as well to let them know of this opportunity.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll move to C, public comment. C1, public comment. We have one public comment from President of ADA, Ms. Veronica Barrick.
Good evening, Governing Board, President Conchas, Superintendent Mayes. I'm actually not here as president of ADA. My public comment is a personal one, and it's a thank you to Mandy Billiou and our technology team. They were able to get 120 iPads together. Sorry. I was very overwhelmed with the thought of having to get all these iPads together, and one little comment from me had this team moving, and they were able to make all those iPads ready for our students in like a day and a half. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. That's it.
Thank you very much. Moving to D, consent agenda. D1, I call for a motion that the governing board approve consent agenda items D2 through D17.
I move that the governing board approve consent agenda items D2 through D17.
Thank you, Mr. Navarez. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Solorio. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Is your mic working? Moving to E, business services. E1, Maricopa County Superintendent of Schools Guardianship Resolution. I call for a motion that the governing board approve the Maricopa County School Superintendent Garnishment Resolution.
I motion that the governing board approve the Maricopa County School Superintendent's Garnishment Resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Navarez. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Oropesa. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving to E2, I call for a motion that the governing board accept the Alhambra School District Arizona Teacher Program Governor's Grant.
I move that we accept the Alhambra School District Arizona Teacher Program, or I move that we accept the Alhambra School District Arizona Teacher Program Governor's Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Oropesa. Is there a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Mr. Navarez. Discussion?
I think this is a great opportunity. I know the governor's office has, gathered individuals together to make something like this or things like this happen, and so it's a good thing we're looking at it as well.
Thank you to the entire team that applied for this grant and will be managing it. Seeing $100,000 looks great, and I'm very proud of our team. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving to E3, grant information for fiscal year '24. In your board packet, you will find a chart of the grants that the Alhambra Elementary School District is currently managing for the 2023-2024 school year. Moving to E4, financial report. The submitted monthly report provides the district's financial status as of the report date, September 7th, 2023, and that's available in your board packet. Moving to F, board policies. F1, first reading of policy BDGA. I call for a motion that the governing board approve the first reading of policy BDGA, service of process.
I move that we approve the first reading of policy BDGA, service of process.
Thank you, Mr. Oropesa. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Solorio. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving to F2, I call for a motion that the governing board temporarily suspend governing board policy BGB, policy adoption, and allow the board to consider changes to policies with one reading rather than two specific readings as contained in policy BGB.
I move that the governing board approve suspending policy BGB regarding the first and second readings of policy adoption.
Thank you, Mr. Navarez. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Solorio. Discussion?
I guess it's just a clarification, or maybe just to know historically, have we suspended this policy in the past, and if for what types of things? I can see the reason for sure, but just wondering.
Yes, we can get clarification from Ms. Dana Lucero, but we have suspended this in the past, and the reason why it is being proposed on the agenda is so that we can move faster through the small policy changes that exist, because Ms. Dana Lucero has also gone through a policy review, a comprehensive review. And so as you can see in the policies proceeding, AESD completed a comprehensive review of all adopted policies, including policy regulations and/or exhibits. So that would allow us for the following policies to be approved today if we vote yes, rather than waiting for it to be put on another agenda. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Anything to add, Dana?
No, that is the reason why the policy review came up with the policy review came up with about 163 policies that we will have to make some minor changes, some other kinds of changes, some are just verbiage and things like that, and to move through it a little more quickly, unless there's something that requires a major change, we would like to try to do a first read and adoption at the same time.
Another clarification is this motion came after F1 because F1 is an entirely new policy that we've never had before. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving to F3, I call for a motion that the governing board approve the first reading and adoption of Policy A, District Mission and Belief Statement.
I move that the governing board approve the first reading and adoption of Policy A, District Mission and Belief Statement.
Thank you, Mr. Navarez. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Mr. Oropesa. Discussion?
I can't believe we haven't done this before. And so I'm glad that we're catching up on a lot of these. That's it.
Any other discussion?
Some of these are, they're talking about like carrier pigeons and like a lot of, no, I'm just kidding. But it's old policies, yeah.
I also share that I shared the same sentiment because we pass these policies at the beginning of the year at our first meeting every year.
Yeah.
So it shows maybe we're not reading the entire policy manual. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving to F4, I call for a motion that the governing board approve the first reading of adoption of policy AD, educational philosophy / district mission.
I move that we adopt the revision to policy AD, educational philosophy and school district mission.
Thank you, Mr. Oropesa. Is there a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Mr. Navarez. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving to F5, I call for a motion that the governing board approve the first reading and adoption of policies IGA, curriculum development, IGD, curriculum adoption, IJJ, textbook supplementary material selection and adoption.
I move that the governing board approve the revisions to policy IGA, IGD, and IJJ.
Thank you, Mr. Navarez. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Solorio. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving to F6, I call for a motion that the governing board approve the first reading and adoption of policy JLCD, medicines, administering medicines to students.
I move that we approve the revisions to policy JLCD, medicines, administering medicines to students.
Thank you, Mr. Oropesa. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Solorio. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving to F7, I call for a motion that the governing board approve the first reading and adoption of policies BB, school board legal status, BCB, board member conflict of interest, BDH, board consultants, and BE, school board meetings.
I recommend, I make a motion to approve that the revisions of the district policies, policy BB, policy BCB, policy BD8, and policy BE.
Thank you, Mr. Navarez. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Mr. Oropesa. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes. Moving to G, new business. G1, I call for a motion that the governing board approve the grade level configuration changes at Westwood Elementary School and Choice Learning Academy.
I move that the governing board approve grade level configuration beginning July 1st, 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Navarez. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Solorio. Discussion?
Just clarification. Ideally, would we want to do this prior, or we're just kind of making sure we get everything set?
Mr. Huseman?
Sorry.
Don't be sorry. That's what discussion is for.
Thank you, President Conches, members of the board, Superintendent Mayes. Yes, ideally, we would want to do this before the school year starts. In the past, we have taken name changes to schools and in 2018, we had a major restructuring where we were closing schools, et cetera. And of course, anytime we are thinking of closing a school, we'd bring that to the governing board before it happened. To the best of my memory, they have not required us to bring grade level configuration changes to the governing board, but now they are requiring it, so we're not able to submit average daily membership for fifth graders at Choice Learning Academy right now. So that's why we are bringing this to the board at this time. But in the future, we'll bring these changes in the spring for consideration of the board before that is even, for your consideration and vote and approval.
And then can I add clarity that, for to clarify that the last time that grade configurations were established and approved by the board, the governing board did approve that Westwood was, as it is currently, a K4, and that Simpson initially would be a K5, but then in 2018, or a 5.8. And then when the name changed, again, it just maintained a 5.8. And so that was the last thing the governing board approved, what we currently have.
Correct, and this is just clarifying it with the new names. It would be confusing to them if we brought that to ADE with a wrong name on there as the last minutes that we had. I think it was from 2020, I believe.
And also to clarify that it was in 2018 that the governing board approved that, correct?
In 2018, they approved the major reconfiguration where it closed some schools and made name changes to a lot of schools and changed some grade configurations at a number of schools. But I believe it was, I'm not sure if, I believe it was 2018. I think that's what you're clarifying, that happened. Dana? Okay, thank you. It was 2018. My apologies.
Thank
Everybody
you.
looks to Dana when they need the right answer, and Dana's here for us.
She's our historian as well. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Huesman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving to G2, I call for a motion that the governing board approve the employee vehicle theft/vandalism reimbursement program.
I move that we approve the employee vehicle theft and vandalism reimbursement program.
Thank you, Mr. Oropesa. Is there a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Mr. Navarez. Any discussion?
Just a quick question. It's not. Is it like on the record as I'm talking as Mr. Navarez? A question is, are any campuses kind of more prone to these kind of incidents that are causing the district to take this on? Obviously, I think it's great that the district is kind of helping our teachers and staff members who happen to be victims of theft or vandalism. But just out of curiosity, is there particular campuses that are presenting these kinds of issues, and is the district looking for more long-term solutions in terms of built environment interventions to prevent this from happening in the future?
Dr. Myers?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Florio. And so, yes, we are looking for more long-term solutions. I know Principal Bradshaw out there from Barcelona can speak to just as far as some of our campuses. I know it was parent-teacher conferences last year where after a very long day in the evening, and it was dark, where several of our teachers went to their cars to find I want to say it was 4 or 5 catalytic converters missing. And so, So now, to the long-term solution, we now have cameras. All of our schools, I know Ruben can speak to that more, but I know that was one of the things that we wanted, was to make sure that our perimeter, that we have cameras protecting, making sure we can keep an eye on what's happening outside of our perimeter. And then we also have screens in our front offices. Now we have someone who's assigned and can see all the perimeters. So if there are any concerns, we can send security, or we can take more just prompt action. And then I know our staff had asked for consideration of this in our well-being survey, just because it was such a hardship. And so we've had a few situations. I want to say under 10 is what we had this past year. And so we're hoping that it'll be even less this next school year with the updates that we've made to security. But in the meantime, we are thankful that we can use insurance proceeds to provide this benefit to our staff.
Just a question, is there, I've noticed that there's or not a rule, but a statement that says it can't be overnight or the weekend without supervisory approval. Is there like a cutoff time for anybody who's going to field trips or coming back late from whatever event? Is it just business hours?
We definitely, if there's events or things like that, we would take that into consideration. I know even with an upcoming event we have where they're parking in our transportation, because we have the additional security in our transportation, so we do have staff members that are parking their vehicle there, and so then there's that added measure of security.
And my question, I've already asked before, but I'd like the public to know that I asked it, is whether this $1,500 would be taxable income for the employees that receive the benefit?
And to confirm, it is not. So it is a reimbursement.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving to H, comments and communication. H1, comments from governing board members.
I'll just share briefly. Last week I had a chance to attend the law conference. I personally had a great time. I also had a chance to attend the delegate assembly with ASBA, and I also had a good time, but it lasted 2 hours longer than what I normally hear it does, so that was interesting. I appreciate all the principals showing me around their campuses. I love to continue doing that. For me, it's important that we engage all our classrooms, all our hallways, all our cafeterias, everything. We are the role models for our students, and we can lead the way. So I just wanted to say that, and thank you, everybody.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I also was able to attend the delegate assembly as an alternate, and fortunately, I did not have to stay because Mr. Navarez was there, and so. But it was eye-opening. It was my first time going, and to experience a smaller, more appropriately timed part of that was actually eye-opening, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be there also.
I also was able to attend the law conference, and I got this really awesome gavel stress ball. So it helps me with my ADHD. And one really interesting thing that Mr. Navarez and I learned about was artificial intelligence and how we need to think about that in terms of student data and privacy. So that'll be an interesting conversation to start. And as you all know, I usually have long-winded speeches, and I did create one for you all today, but I'm going to spare you half of it. As we honor Hispanic Heritage Month, let us also reflect on the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion in our district. It is our duty to create an environment where students feel seen, valued, and empowered to succeed, regardless of their background. Let us continue to embrace the richness of our cultural mosaic, where our differences are not obstacles, but opportunities for learning and growth. Together, we can foster a community that celebrates diversity as our greatest strength. In the words of Cesar Chavez, a champion for workers' rights and social justice, preservation of one's own culture does not require contempt or disrespect for other cultures. Let us uphold these words as we come together to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month and the incredible diversity that defines us. Thank you to each of you and each and every one of you for your dedication, your passion, and unwavering commitment to our district. Together, we're building a brighter future for all. Thank you. Any other discussion or comments? All right, moving to H2, Governing Board Direction and/or Agenda Item Requests. None? I would like to, well, I've already spoken to the superintendent and to Dana about this, but I would like to schedule a retreat before the end of the year. There's a lot of things that we need to work on and discuss together, especially following our first retreat. And then the other thing is I would like an update on the election for the general election for the land sale. I would like to know what can we as a board do, what can we not do, and also I know that we have a consultant I wanted to know if that consultant is part of the district, or is if it's a political action committee, or how all of those things work, and what activities we can do to promote the election results. And that's it. Any other direction? Okay. Moving to H3, comments from superintendent and executive team.
Good evening, everyone. This evening, if we could begin our comments with Mr. Reese for Educational Services. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, President Conchas, governing board members, Alhambra community. This week reminds us that the whole child is at play with our athletics. Our athletics have officially begun with boys and girls soccer. We have co-ed volleyball happening, and the fun part about it all is teams are competing, including at our new JWR field, along with their Gap and Valencia gym. With great excitement and enthusiasm, students are really having a good time in these sports. I do want to share also a really fun highlight that clubs that are happening on campuses. Last year at this time, we had 69 clubs that were taking place. Today, we get to celebrate that we have 101 clubs that are actually occurring, and that's an increase of 32 clubs as compared to this time last year. And additionally, in terms of the adults who are supporting those, we thank them all for their contribution and support and commitment to our students after school, including coaches. Last year, this time, we had 125. Today, we celebrate that we have 158. So a 33 staff member increase to support those wonderful after-school activities. Additionally, as you all approved the teacher program governor's grant for $100,000, I do want to share that I was on a campus today visiting classrooms, and I observed one of our early retirees who is supporting our brand new teachers. And this grant will help to support new teachers in ways beyond that, to include some substitute days that we've designated so that we can get our new teachers to get into classrooms at different schools perhaps, certainly within classrooms on their own campuses, but that they'll have the coverage so that they can do so and really take a look at what good instruction looks like as a brand new teacher, and we know that that's very valuable. So just to clarify real quickly, I'm not suggesting that the grant is paying for the early retiree work. I just wanted to highlight that in concert with that, these additional opportunities and resources will help to support our new teachers in our increasingly robust teacher induction program. So thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, President Conchas, governing board members, and Superintendent Dr. Mayes. I'm very excited to share with you that we have this wonderful opportunity with Diversified Dentistry Youth Summit. It's a field trip for 20 of our 8th grade students. And what they're able to do is they are able to be alongside a dentist for the day. So the dentist is like their mentor. They learn about the anatomy, they attend lectures, they have conversations, they have a power lunch. And to conclude their day, they have a white coat ceremony, which is a rite of passage in the career field of dentistry. So the students get to experience that. So we're very excited to be able to have our students attend this. Miss Ragland and I have been working hard on this field trip, and we have 75 students who have shown interest. So it's beautiful, but it's also very challenging because we were given 20 spots, which was more than other schools were given. So we're working hard on that, but a great opportunity for our kids. Thank you.
President Conchas, members of the board, and Dr. Mayes, we continue to keep a close eye on enrollment, and per your request, are actively working on a detailed enrollment report in response to your questions and the input you have provided. To that end, you can expect our report to include an analysis of enrollment trends, specifically student cohorts with particular attention to cohorts who have declined in transition between sites, to identify the nuances of each decline across the district so that we can implement strategies, targeted strategies for sites with higher decline rates. You can expect a synopsis of currently used enrollment strategies and campaigns at the site and district level, the effect of these strategies, and our research on high-yield strategies as we plan to employ with an emphasis on at-risk schools. You can also expect anecdotes and sentiments we have collected when personally contacting families who have left Alhambra. an examination of our new online enrollment practices with data related to the initiative, and we are also examining potential correlations between enrollment, discipline, and achievement, and we'll share what we find. Our goal is to have this report ready for the board by the October 26th board meeting. Thank you.
Good evening, President Conches. I think my mic is also not working. I will be speaking as Mandy Bilyeu. Good evening. We're excited. Our goal this year, last year we started this as a goal, but this year we are forging ahead. 100% of our 8th grade students registered for high school by promotion. And with that goal in mind, right, we have this Leave Ready for High School program, which we are in collaboration with Phoenix Union High School, and we now have a series of 5 opportunities for parents to come and learn about the elements of high school, about the choices there are, and to prepare now for this next space in their students' life. So we're excited. The first meeting is going to take place right in this room on September 28th from 5:30 to 6:30, and we currently have 40-some families already registered to come. So we're excited about this opportunity and getting 100% of our students registered for high school by promotion.
Thank you all for sharing. And as far as my updates, I would just like to, of course, thank everyone for their hard work. This week I had the pleasure of meeting with a classified staff member from every campus, and it was a pleasure to hear just how dedicated our team is. And so as they had a number of things to celebrate, which I appreciated. But above all, what I always pay attention to are the needs, and how we can support them better. And the one thing that was a trend was that they'd like more training, and just hearing their passion and wanting to better support our students made me excited, and I guaranteed them that we will provide more training for them. And so we'll continue to work on that. I also had the pleasure of observing our special area team leads as they met and prepared this morning. Actually, our PE teachers from across the district came together to collaborate. And it was really neat to see just the excitement of our leaders. It's the teachers themselves that are leading the collaboration. And so even one of our PE teachers said he was up till nearly midnight planning and finalizing, but he was excited about it, just sharing how he was finalizing the presentation to engage our PE teachers today. And so it was neat just to hear the energy, the excitement, and how empowered the team is as they're planning for intramurals right now. And today was a highlight for me as I was able to meet our triple A's for this school year. So our student advisors, we have some really amazing kids. I know Gabriel attended that with me, and we both were looking at each other as the kids were just so intelligent and so articulate, and even just so friendly as they welcomed one another, introduced themselves to each other, and just well-rounded kids. And even their vocabulary, I kept thinking, wow, these kids are amazing. And so as even one of the students was sharing how he shared just how he appreciates being challenged in his honors classes. And he said how things tend to come very easy to him, or he learns pretty easily, but how humbled he is while he's in the honors classes because of just the intelligence around him. And I thought, wow, that just speaks to what amazing kids we have in this district and our responsibility to ensure that all of our kids are learning at high levels. And so again, it's a pleasure to work with them. They celebrated the various clubs and athletics that are going on, and caring teachers who are supporting their learning. And then they too gave me some things that we can continue to work on, that I'll be reaching out to our leaders and collaborating with you all to see how we can best support our kids. But again, so much to celebrate. I've appreciated the visits in our classrooms, and I just see everyone working so hard, and our kids are thriving in our schools. And I thank you for all your hard work. So thank you, everyone.
Moving to I, meeting closing. I1, the next governing board meeting will be on October 5th, 2023. I2, calendar of events. Please check the AESD calendar by visiting Alhambra's website, alhambraesd.org. You'll be able to see monthly calendars of events throughout the district. Also coming up is fall break. There's no school from October 9th to October 13th. I3, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Navarez. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Oropesa. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. This meeting is adjourned.